Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be uh, doing our class 2 of SolidWorks for beginners, and in this class we will cover how to create 2D sketches, how to use most of the sketch tools that we have in SolidWorks, how to create a complex shape by combining individual sketch tools. So let's quickly hop into our um, let's say sketch tool. We'll just select a part and go for OK. Alright, here we are in the SolidWorks environment, and you can see uh, right here in the different tabs we have a tab called sketch. So this is the sketch panel right over here. All the essential tools are right over here that we will be using for our sketch in SolidWorks. Now um, every option that includes a downward arrow, it means that there are inside components as well for that related to that tool. So if I consider a line and we click on the arrow, you can see line, we have midpoint line, center line, and stuff like that. Similar to that, if you go for a circle, there are two types of circle and perimeter circle. Right, so that's our sketch panel. And yeah, so the next thing that SolidWorks give us is mouse gesture and the S key. Now what is mouse gesture? So let's say if I right click and hold my mouse button, you can see a quick wheel coming on your screen. Now this wheel may be different for you because by default it will be different. Now this is called a mouse gesture in SolidWorks. So let's say if I want to change my view to top view, you can see I can change it to top view and release it like that, and my top view is right over here in the trad. So all you have to do is right click and hold and change your view like that. Now let's say you want to customize that uh, um, mouse gesture. So we can do it very easy. We can go to tools, then we can go to customize, and from here we can see there is a mouse gesture tool coming over here. You can disable mouse gesture or enable from here. You can make it like a 4 gesture or 8 gesture or 12. By default it will be 4, but you can change it to 8 if you want to. And let's keep it for 4. And you can basically change the tools inside the gesture. So let's say I want my are some of the sketch tools. Let's find some of the sketch tools over here. So alright, so let's say I want to add this sketch onto my mouse gesture. So how do we do that is we'll just drag it over here and it will be added. The previous one, which was smart dimension, is removed now, and the sketch option is added. So very quickly you can customize your own mouse gesture, and you can use it to pace up your work, right? So that's how. Just right click and hold it. Okay, right click and hold to change your mouse gesture like that. The another shortcut tool that SolidWorks gave us is S key. So every time you press S key on your keyboard, you'll see this cute little window which has some tools. So obviously it has line, it has reference geometry, extrude boss. All these different tools can be customized as well. So for that, just right click and go to customize, and you can pretty much add anything. Just click and drag it, so you can keep on adding your own tools. Let's say I want to add this, and if you are done with that, you can press OK. So now if I press my S key on my keyboard, I can access my tools right over here. Alright, so that was the S key and the mouse gesture. Very important tool that SolidWorks give us, and we can pretty much pace up our sketch work in the SolidWorks. right? All right. So right now, if you see our window, we don't see any origin uh, in my working space. So let's say I want to see my origin. All I can do is go to view and go to hide and show, and from here I can show my origin. So here it is. This is the origin that we wanted. Now you can hide it by going to the view, hide and show, and hide origin, right? So there you can hide and show your origin if you want to. If you want to keep it on, you can keep it, or if you want to make it off, you can do it as well. All right, let's quickly take some tools. So let's start with the line tool. Let's say I want it on any plane. So let's take the line tool. Can either start from origin like this and keep on doing until you press escape. All right. Similarly, we can do center line. So you can do center line like this. Keep on going until you press escape button. Also, we have midpoint line. So midpoint line will basically go in both the direction, right? Now, if you invoke the line tool, you can give it preferred orientation. So let's say if it is now sketched, I can go in any direction like this. And if I make it to go in horizontal only, so it won't go in any other direction unless and until it's only horizontal, right? So as the name suggests, it will go in only horizontal, and if I make it vertical, it will go in only vertical direction. And angle, I can define my angle, right? Right now I can go in any angle because I haven't defined any angle over here, but you can define it and you can use the angle as well. Also, if you go for options in the line, you can have construction line. So if I draw my line, it will be for construction, right? And for the infinite line, if I check it, our line will be infinite. We don't want it for now. And for the midpoint line, it's the same thing. So if I start from here, it will go in both the directions, right? Let's select all, delete. So that's it with the line tool. Very simple, nothing complicated. Now let's see the second tool that we have in Solidworks, which is circle. So I can come to my origin and draw a circle like this. Okay, you can make it for construction right over here, or uncheck if you don't want it, right? Now let's give it a smart dimension. So let's say whatever. All right. There is another type of circle which is perimeter circle. So for that we need to click 3 points, as you can say right over here, 1 2 3. So 1 2 and 3 points. For the normal circle, all we have to do is click and give it a radius so you can draw the circle. But for the perimeter circle, we need to give it 3 points. So first point, second point, and third point. Okay. All right. Select all, delete. Now let's say we have something like this, a triangle, and let's quickly utilize the perimeter circle to make it tangent to all the three lines. So I'll select first line, second line, and third line. Right? Very easy, nothing complicated going on. So that's it with the circle. Let's move on to other tool that we have in SolidWorks is corner rectangle. So corner rectangle will basically first point and second point. So all we have to do is define first point and go in any direction and define the second point. Now if you want construction line, we can do that as well, like this. So in the construction line you can either choose from corners or from midpoints. So let's go for midpoints now, first point and second point. So these corner points, these construction lines will be useful if you are working on certain sketch, so that you need the midpoints of these rectangle, and then you can proceed with your sketch like that. On a certain task we need something like this, so make sure you utilize these function at construction line. Now the other rectangle tool is center rectangle. So as the name suggests, it will be from center and going equally in all the directions. Okay, we can do it from options construction or uncheck for solid rectangle. Up to you. The other rectangle that we have is 3-point corner. So first point and the second point and the third point, like this. First, second, third. The other rectangle that we have is 3-point center, so it means that our first point will be the center and second and third will give it basically the length and the width. First point center, second point length, third point width, like that. And parallelogram, obviously first, second, third. It will be on an angle, so you can pretty much utilize it if you want to. It's up to you. So that's it for all the rectangle tools that we have in SolidWorks. We have covered all the rectangle tools. Now let's move on to the other tool that we have is straight slot. So straight slot, what will it do is, let's go for it. Straight slot is basically will define point 1, define point 2, and then give it a width like this. Very easy. Point 1, 2, 3. Just have to give 3 points and your slot will be ready. Now the second, obviously you can do it as we have done it with the previous tool. You can go it for construction or you can uncheck for solid slots. The second slot that we have is center point is straight, so let's go for center point. So point 1, point 2, and point 3. Now this center point means the first point will be basically the midpoint of your slot. So the second point defines the length of the slot and third point will define the width of the slot, like this. First point, and if right now I'm giving my second point, you will see that it's extending to both the direction, the third point, like that. The other slot that we have is 3-point arc. So for that you can say, let's say first point, second point, and third point will give the radius for the arc, and the fourth point will define the width of the arc. So how do we do that is, first point, second point defines the length, third point defines the radius, and fourth point defines the width of the arc. The other slots that we have is center point arcs. So for that, let's start from here, first point, and this second point. Let's define the arc, third point, and fourth point. So first point, we basically established our center for the arc. So this will be the center. Second point defines the radius of the arc. Third point defines the arc length, you can say, and fourth point defines the width of the arc. So that's it with all the different arcs that we can do in SolidWorks, right? Let's select all this, delete. Let's move on to other tool that we have is center point arc. So simple, you can draw from center like this. You can give it an arc like that. The other is tangent arc. Okay, so let's say we have a line like this and we want to see what tangent arc is. So we'll click here, start from here and the point 2. So tangent arc is basically it will select this line as the tangent and this line as the tangent as well. So it basically needs tangent. So if I do it from here to here, it is tangent to this arc. It needs one tangent in any of the endpoints. So let's say this point as the tangent. Okay, so this the new arc that we draw right here is tangent to this arc, but it doesn't care about this point. So in the figure itself you can see that this is tangent to this line, but on the other end it could be free, right? Third is 3-point arc. So first point, second point and third point. All right, first point defines like this, then second point defines the radius, third point. All right, that's it with the arcs. Let's delete that. Let's move on to our polygon. So in the polygon we have some options going on here. We have parameters, so this basically means the number of sides. So how many sides you want? Let's say I want a 5 side, so it will be a pentagon. And the other thing is inscribed or some circumscribed, that is the other thing. And we have some center coordinates going on as well as the center circle diameter and the angle. So let's say I want to draw a polygon. I can start from here and do it like this. Now since we selected inscribed, that means the circle will be drawn inside the polygon. Let's select the other circle. Now this time if I draw it, the circle will be outside our polygon. So that's the difference between inscribed and circumscribed, right? That's it with the polygon. You can obviously go for, let's say, decagon and draw like this. You have a decagon right over here. Let's delete it. Let's move on to the other tool, that is spline. So spline is basically uh, this one. You can click and draw a complex shape. We mostly use a spline if we are working on shape design or surface. If we are working on surface design, so that's how you can create complex shapes using the spline. So this is our starting and ending point, and these are all the control points. Now we want to edit the spline. We can come here and click on here and we get some control points. So you can see we can control the spline right over here. We can do some crazy things with the spline, right? The other spline is a style spline, so that one is controlled by these points. So if I these are the control points for style spline, and we can, let's say, change it like this to change our shape of the spline. Okay, so these are the spline with style spline. Now the equation driven curve is basically, let's say we define some equation. So we have two types. Equation type is explicit and parametric. In the explicit we have only uh, one equation, so it's going for y with respect to x, and we define x1 and x2. So let's say y is sine of x, and x is going from 0 to 1. Let's click OK. So this is our equation driven curve. Now let's say I want another equation driven curve. This time let's go for cos x 0 to 1. Okay, so here we have the cos equation, and you can simply go for a number of different equations. You can define your own equation. So let's say if you have we use this equation driven curve mostly with uh, uh, complex shape that we have defined and we have been theoretically working on. So this tool is mostly used by aerospace, automobile, and all those different sectors, because their equation may be different coming through the some formulas, so we need to put all the values. Now here if we see the parametric, we have two different variables, so x and y, which is dependent on t. So we will define x in terms of t. So let's say t square, and y is t power cube, and let's say this is 1 to 10, and check it. So this is our equation. So this is the equation that we did right now, right? You can again go and change over here the values, and your equation will be arranged according to that. So that's it with the equation driven curve. Now the other tool that we have is ellipse, and some more ellipse. So let's delete it. Let's talk about ellipse. So in the ellipse, what we'll do is we'll define the center first, then the we say what we call it, the major radius and the minor. So it can be opposite if you want to, minor and the major radius, right? The partial ellipse, we define our first point from center. The second point could be in any direction, so let's say I define it in this direction, and our third point will be in this direction, and now we start doing the ellipse. So let's say I want to stop here like that. Okay, let's do it one more time. So start from the center, start second point, third point. Okay, that was not the partial. Let's go for partial, center, second point, third point, and we define the partial ellipse like that. Okay, we have other types of ellipse going on, which is parabola. So for that, let's draw a parabola. Let's select it. Let's start. Let's say I want to start from here, then second point, then we can give it a starting point. So let's say from here to here. So this is obviously the starting point and the end point. This is our first point and the second point, right? This point is called the focus of the parabola. Okay, let's move on to the other that we have is conic. So for the conic, define point. Okay, so for the conic, let's say we have a line like this and a line like this. Now if we go for conic and select point 1 and point 2, and then we can give it corner corner curve like this. So I can basically do a conic curve like that. So these parabola and conic we will not be using most of the time. Most of the time we'll be working with spline, circle, arcs, and rectangle and lines. Very oftenly I have used parabola and conic curve. Yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the other tool that we have, fillet and chamfer. So very easy. Let's take a center rectangle. Okay, now let's see fillet. So we give fillet parameters. So let's say 5 mm and select your two corners. Now it's very small, so let's increase it to 50. Like now you can see, and you can do it for all the four corners like that. So it basically gives a rounded corner to your lines or sketch. That's the fillet. Now if I undo that, I can also go for chamfer. So you can go for angle distance. So let's say angle is 50 and distance is 50 and angle is 45. So this point and this point. Now let's change it to distance. So 50 and you can go for symmetrical or 50-45. This and this. Now if you come and see and compare both of these. So basically what it has done is first it has taken 50 distance and 45 angle. Now for this one it has taken 50 distance and 45 distance because this was distance chamfer. Alright, let's talk about the other tool that we have in Solidworks. So this basically you can add text to your sketches. So let's invoke it, and in the sketch text we need to type in something. So let's say this is class 2 of Solidworks. Okay, now from here you can make it bold, italic and stuff like that, and you can change your font. So let's say I select it. Okay, you can select different fonts from here. You can select different styles. So let's say uh, let's go for a bold, and you can, for the heights you can either use units or points. So I'll select units, let's say 10 mm, and you can strike it out or underline if you want, and you can change the spacing. So let's say 0.5. Okay, so once we have uh, set our text, we need to define the curve where we want the sketch. So let's say I want here. This looks a bit small, so let's make it a bit bigger. So let's go for 25. Okay, now it's Now it's looking good. So what we will do is we see that it's inverted now. So we can flip it vertically like this, and you can simply using the flip vertical and horizontal, you can align your text, and then you can, if you want, you can justify, so it will be on the full line, right? So that's how you can assign text to your sketch. Let's move on to the other tool that we have is points. It's basically give some points. Now some more tools that we have is trim entities and extend entities. So let's say if we have something like this. Okay, now if we have to trim, let's say inside of this circle and inside of this rectangle, so we can come to trim, and we can pretty much drag it like this. So I'll undo that. So all you have to do is select trim and drag like this inside where you don't want your sketch to be. So let's say I want to delete this too as well. So all you have to do is drag like this. Simple. And the opposite of trim is extend. So if I click on this and this, it will extend it to the nearest sketch. So if I have something like this, and then if I come and extend it, so it will be extended to the nearest sketch. Okay, now the other thing is offset. So offset is basically it creates a copy of the selected. So right now it's 10 mm offset. We can increase or decrease it. So let's go for 70. You can reverse it. All right, you can make it bi-directional, so it will be in both the direction. You can offset geometry can be in construction, base geometry will be converted to construction, and there are some more options which you can see. So that's it with the offset entities, right? Now let's see what mirror entities is. So let's say I want to mirror this circle over to this side, basically the right side. So how do we do that? We come to mirror. Now we have two options, entities to mirror and mirror about. So entities to mirror, let's say I want to entity mirror this one, and mirror about, let's say I want to give this one, and it's done. Simple. Invoke the mirror command. Entities to mirror, let's say this circle, and for about, let's go with this. That's it with the mirror tool. Now the other tool that we have is pattern. Okay, so let's, all right. So let's say we have a circle like this, and we want to pattern it linearly, not a circular pattern but linear sketch pattern. So I'll select linear sketch pattern. I will see in the linear pattern we have direction 1, direction 2, and entities to pattern. So entities to pattern is already selected. All we have to do is give it proper. So let's say 40. In this direction you can increase the number of instances. So let's go for 6, and in the can check this dimension x spacing. Now if we come to the second axis, we can give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can increase the distance. So like this, we can create a cool rectangular pattern, and let's say we don't want it to be we don't want all of these pattern. So we can come down here over instances to skip, and we can select, let's say this one, we don't want this one, don't want this one, we don't want this one, and you can repeat it. And if right now I click OK, so you can see how the pattern is going on. We remove some of the entities as well. So that's very cool tool in SolidWorks, linear sketch pattern. Can pattern it in both the direction or a single direction if you want to. So let's select this, let's delete, yes. Now let's say I want to move on to the other tool we have, that is circular sketch. So let's draw something first. Let's select it, go for circular sketch pattern. Okay, equal spacing, yeah. In entities to pattern, we selected everything and we define, let's say 6, and we can increase it 7, 8, 9, 10 like that. Since we have selected equally spacing, so it knows the point from where it has to be equally spaced, and we can do the same thing, so we can skip some of the instances. Alright, then click OK. You'll get a circular sketch pattern like that. Okay, let's move on and talk about the other tool. Let's delete it, and we will move on to the other sketch tool that we have is move, copy, and all those different. So let's say we have, okay, so let's say we have a sketch like this, we want to move it. So all we can do is select move, entities to move, we select this, we select this, basically select all your sketches. Then we give the start point, so I want my start point to be the center, and we can quickly move it to any direction like that. Let's say it one more time. So select all your sketch, go for move, give the starting point, so I will select center. You can select any other point if you want to, and like that we can move it. Okay, that's it. With the move command we can similarly, if we select this and go for copy, we give the starting point, and we can make multiple copies of the same sketch, right? Let's undo that. So we are moving on with the other tools that we have is rotate. So let's quickly draw something, say draw, let's say we have this feature. Let's select everything and move to rotate entities. Now here we have to define the center of rotation. So let's say I want it on this point and 30 degrees, and if we click yes, it rotates our entities. Now the one thing that we have to see is, why is this one not included? Okay, so we forgot to include this line, so let's include it. Okay, so let's select everything, go for rotate entities, center of rotation is this one, 45 degrees. Okay, so Yeah, that's how and the SolidWorks works in the anti-clockwise rotation. So every time you type your values, it will automatically rotate it in anti-clockwise direction, right? What else? So scale entities. So let's undo that. We can scale it as well. So let's go for scale entities. We need to define the base point. So let's say this is my base point, and scale factor, you can increase it. You can keep a copy, or if you uncheck the copy, it will basically scale the previous sketch, so you won't see any copies. So let's keep it for now and scale it to 1.3. Okay, so the previous sketch is stored as well. Now if I select, and this time let's go for 0.5. Okay, one basically 0.5, and let's remove the copy and then check it. So what it does is it removes the previous sketch. If you uncheck copy, the sketch on which you are scaling will be scaled on its own, right? That's it with the scale. And if you come to the other sketch tool, we have a stretch. Let's say I select this, and then we define a point. I can pretty much stretch it to like this, a weird position. Okay, so we have stretched our entities. The other the other sketch tools that I want to talk about is split. All right, so for that, let's go to tools. Let's come to sketch tools, and we have some tools such as split entities. So what it is, does it every time we click, it creates a point, and let's say we want to split it from here, from here, from here, press escape. So it basically splits the sketch from the point where we selected it. Okay, we can also use one more tool in a sketch tools, that is jog line. So if I start from here, let's say I select this one, I do it like this. I can make it pretty much a crazy sketch. So this is called jog line in SolidWorks. Can do it for this one as well. Right, that is the jog line. Alright guys, so let's quickly utilize what we have learned in our class 2 and do some sketches, so we could uh, come to a conclusion that we have learned something. Alright, so for this, let's take a front plane, go to sketch, and we will take a line. Now let's start from here. Let's sketch a profile. That's it. And then let's give it some dimensions. Okay, so we have done one mistake. We don't want this line on the origin, so we'll select it. We will delete this relation, so now we can move it this, yeah. Then we will give it a dimension, so from. So for that we'll need a construction line or center line, whatever you can call it. So I can go from here to here, and then let's give the dimension from this to 30. Let's drag it to here. Okay, or the next dimension will be between this and this. So this is 45. So this and this 58. Okay, and this this distance is 4. Also this height is 25, and this one is 4 as well. This height is 8, and from here to here this should be 40. Okay, and this point should not be here, so we'll select the sketch, move it like that, and we'll move it like that as well, and then we will give this a dimension. So actually this point should be on this axis, so coincident, and then we'll define this as 2.5. Alright, what else do we have? From here to here the distance is 138. Also from here to here this is 128. Okay, so now since our sketch is fully defined, what we will do is we'll drag a window selection, and then we will mirror it so it knows our mirror axis. That's good. And then we can exit the sketch and come to feature, go for a revolved base from this axis. Let's go up to 270. Okay, that's the part which we wanted. Right, so very quickly we understood how we can do the sketch and create a revolved base. Now we have not covered the feature tools, but we will cover it in the next tutorial. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. We hope you like it, and make sure to subscribe if you are new, and comment down below if you have any doubts. Thank you so much. Peace out.